Right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regular ReGen Monterey Board of Directors meeting. It is March 20th at 9:02, so I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Shirley?
Here.
Vice Chair Delgado?
Here.
Director Blackwelder?
Here.
Director Askew?
Here.
Director Barber?
Present.
Director Garcia Arrezola? Director McKee?
Here.
Director Pedori? Director Byrne?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. All right, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. At this time, I'll open it up for public communications. Anyone wishing to address the board on matters not appearing on the agenda, you do so now. You have a maximum of 3 minutes. Anyone else? Excuse me. Yeah. Would you like to make a public comment? Yeah, please come forward.
Morning, everyone. My name is Clete Elms. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Green Waste. Green Waste has been the proud partner and service provider to the 7 ReGen cities since 2015. For 11 years, Green Waste has provided high-quality, reliable service to your cities as supported by your recent survey results, and we greatly value your partnership. We acknowledge you are evaluating your community service needs, Green Waste's contractual performance, and your franchise agreement's future. We fully respect this exploratory process. However, I want to reiterate our long-term and unwavering commitment to both you and our customers today and into the future. I'm here to address some performance concerns raised at last week's TAC meeting. Number one, our franchise agreements share a consistent set of education requirements and funding allocations, including 4 dedicated outreach staff providing thousands of annual direct and multifaceted customer touchpoints, $25,000 towards the Central Coast Recycling Media Coalition, annual outreach planning, timely reporting, dedicated communication channels, and a website. Event education, including 20 outreach booths in 2025. We also provide financial support above our contractual requirements. Sponsorships such as Marina's Inclusive Playground Project, educational events with ReGen and city staff, and new events such as the Winter Wonderland in Seaside, numerous giveaways and donations. Number 2, diversion numbers have continued room for improvement, and we work closely with each city to address this. This includes illegal dumping, targeted business outreach, and curbing contamination. We are investing in technology and outreach strategies focused on this sustained improvement. Number 3, Green Waste remains committed to partnering with each of the member agencies and will implement a 30-day training program for any new city hires moving forward. For example, upsizing the Sand City's Public Works cleanup store to a 30-yard box, with on-call service. Number 4, all 7 cities have access to Green Waste recyclist compliance tracking. In 2025, our team conducted 1,606 site visits, 1,597 customer technical assistance trainings, 95% commercial and MFD compliance in 6 of the 7 cities, and our new cart tag program reduced non-collected contaminated containers from 59% to 4% in 1 year. Lastly, our 2026 education plans were positively received during the January TAC. Our team will reach out to each city to confirm their satisfaction and add any desired changes. This is a short list of the ways that Green Waste has and continues to uphold our contract while proving our dedication beyond its scope. I stand before you today asking for consideration to continue the partnership and further discuss each of your community's greatest service needs. We will help identify the best solutions with the least amount of financial impact on our customers. With up to 9 years remaining on our contract, I kindly ask you to consider an amended agreement with Green Waste rather than pursue a costly and cumbersome RFP. We are committed to providing the best quality service for your cities while fulfilling your community's greatest needs for years to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your comment. Appreciate it. Any other public comments?
Show none on mine.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll close public comments at this time. Oh, we do have, yeah, welcome.
Good morning, board. Thank you for your time. Manny Pinero, proud resident here of Marina, California. Also, I represent Local 270 with the Laborers Union, who has the collective bargaining agreement with Green Waste Recovery. I'm here to say that they've done a great job, in my opinion, as a resident. Whenever we had an issue, we can call Jose directly. He comes out, even though he's in management, but he's a hands-on person and his crew. When we have an issue, it's dealt with at the lowest level before it escalates. And when they have the enthusiasm and the alacrity to come out right away and resolve issues, I think they're doing a fine job. And we're glad to represent them, and thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comments? No? Okay, I'll close public comments. We'll move on to our consent agenda, which is items 5A through 5C. Do any directors have any comments or would like to pull any of those items? No? All right. The public like to pull or have comments on any of those items? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Second.
All right, move to approve by Director Barber and a second by Mayor Delgado. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our financial report for February 2026. Lupe will be giving us our financial report.
Good morning, Chair and members of the public. My name is Felipe Melcher. I'm the General Manager for ReGen. I will be giving the financial report, financial status today. I'd like to start off with our net income is 1.2 million favorable to the budget, driven primarily by operating expenses, savings that offset revenue shortfalls. Our year-to-date total revenue is 2.8 million below budget, primarily due to lower material volumes, weaker commodity pricing impacting the MRF revenue, and about a half a year of no generation from our cogen plant. Our year-to-date employment expenses is $1 million favorable to our budget due to the unfilled vacant positions and also reduced overtime across all departments. These are very favorable for us. And our year-to-date operating expenses is $3.9 million below budget, reflecting controlled spending across the organization. Our cash in the bank last year, July 1st of 2025, was $13.5 million. Today, or as of February 28, 2026, was about $14.4 million. Our temporary investments in the LAIF in 2025 of July was 17.2 million. February 28 of 2026 is 17.9. It's approaching the 18 million. Our capital equipment reserve is at 1.7 million. Our capital infrastructure reserve is at 1.7 million. Our site closure fund, it's 2.7 million, and our environmental impairment fund is at 1 million. Roughly almost $40 million in restricted or unrestricted cash. Our year-to-date capital spend is 4.2 million on a budget of 12.4. A big number of that piece is contingent on the CAS. Some of it is going to be considered when it's going to be spent. So it's going to overlap both fiscal years. And that is my report out. Our diversion for the MRF has improved from about a 63% to 65%. The entirety of the MRF is around 70%, and our C&D diversions at 80%. So healthy. I think the only concern for me is that we still continue to see the volumes decline. You know, our efforts on our 11-year projection are really helping not notice that, but we are tuned in that we're seeing a decline in total volume coming in year over year. But we've addressed some of that with seeking a short-term agreement to bring in some additional volume as we make our trek for the 11-year projected proposals that we have positioned in front of the board. I'd be happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions from directors? Yep. Delgado.
Kind of a general question. We've talked about it before. When we get these reports, we can believe that things are going well or not so well, depending on what the report says. But it would be so much better to be able to put them in the context of trend. like, oh, we have 440,000 of cash on hand. Well, maybe we've had 4 million in the past, or maybe we've only had, 100,000 in the past. It's hard to know the health of the snapshot unless we know, the trend. And I think we talked about that before. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah. The follow-up work is still going to come to the finance committee, evaluate the reports that we're putting out today. We do have a new director in finance, so we will allow her to get her feet under herself, and then we'll start making, I'd like to see a year-over-year evaluation, maybe even 2 years prior. I think we can probably go back as far as 10 years before we changed over into our financial systems. But it is a working project, but finance committee will see it first, and then we'll start layering it back to the board to make sure this is what we want to see as a consensus from the whole group in our financial reports that we're giving monthly.
Does it seem logical that doing it the first time, going back 10 years, will be more work than adding 1 year at a time as we go into the future?
Sure. I think the difficulty with the new staff is capturing what occurred in every one of those years up to the point. But maybe you can bring relevance, and the people from the finance committee and personnel committee could bring back to what were some of the big items that occurred in those years. That will help narrow down whether the optics of it being better or not actually exists. So give us an opportunity to work on it and bring it back to the board, please.
I was just thinking mainly metrics, like at the end of the year, what was the net income? At the end of the year, what was the revenue? What were the expenses? How much debt? What was the debt ratio? All those kinds of metrics.
Yep.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Yep. And it's similar to the items that we're presenting today. Just want to see more years of it. And I think we hear you loud and clear.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Okay. All right, we have no recognition or presentation. So our next item is discussion, and it's a request for financial year 26-27 draft budget direction, and authorize the general manager to send notification to haulers of proposed disposal fee increase.
Great. Yeah, so that's going to be me again. And thank you guys for having me. Our recommendation is that the board provide support for the proposed municipal solid waste disposal fee increase, the proposed single stream recycling processing fee increase, and adjustments to fees and other material types for fiscal year 26 and 27, so that staff may proceed with the budget development process. Further, the board authorized the general manager to notify the haulers the potential fee increase subject to the board approvals in our May 2026 meeting. I am going to jump through the memo because some of these items that I have itemized in the memo will be presented in the presentation that I have for you. So background and discussion items will be in the presentation. Do want to jump to the proposed fees and changes may contribute approximately 1.4 million in revenues to help the funds anticipated to cover costs, including funding capital infrastructure, capital equipment reserves established in June of 22, funding closure and post-closure liability reserves established September of 2024, the anticipated annual prepayment of the CalPERS unfunded liability. We started that November of 2024, keeping pace with the CPI-related increases in employment costs, including labor negotiations with the Allies unit, rising capital and operation expenditure costs, keeping pace with the ongoing regulatory mandates and compliance requirements, and preparation for the financial impact of major regional contracts expirations. The $4 fee increase to solid waste will also be explained in the proposal. And at the conclusion, we're looking for direction on the proposed fee increases and for the board to authorize the general manager to send the notifications out to the franchise haulers. I'm already receiving phone calls, but I did let them know that we would be discussing it on today's board meeting and that we would get letters out to them as soon as possible. If we can just get into the slide deck, we can start with slide 1. What you see here is where we're at in process, and we just wanted to let you know. So ReGen's going to fee increases will be presented here. They will be approved in May, but this is our abilities to start building our budgets and using actual numbers. We've done work with the finance committee to go over these rates, and a lot of questions were developed through here. So hopefully we've been able to get our presentation to align with the questions. So we're here. ReGen will authorize us to send out a notice, but the rates will not be improved until the budget's approved in May. The haulers will receive the calculations next. And then the haulers will run their rate increase calculations with our component in it. They'll be presented to jurisdictions in June or prior to June. And then implementation will take effect July 1st. Customer will receive their first bill in August that would reflect the July billing that would incorporate not only our component, but the components of the hauler at that time. Any questions on this slide? If not, next slide, please. So in March, we're here today. We want to discuss the proposed fees changes for the development of the fiscal year budget 2026. We also want to authorize the general manager to send the notifications for the fee increases that reflect 26-27, and they're subject to board approval May of 2026. In April, we will schedule our public hearing for the changes in fees. In May, the board will receive the draft budget for fiscal year 26-27 and provide direction to staff. Public hearing will be held to consider the changes to the fees. Approval of the changes to the fees will take effect July 1st of 2026. Pay schedules, if possible, pending bargaining. That is an unknown for us, but we were going to work through bargaining. If we can still go back to the last slide. And in June, pay schedules, depending the bargaining. I'd like to have a tentative agreement in place by the May meeting. It is an aggressive timeline what we have with the union, but we do have scheduled meetings that will fast track the discussions. And we are anticipating our first meeting to commence either the week, the 6th of April or the 13th of April to initiate the first meeting to discuss ground rules and potentially receive our first proposal from the Allies unit. Next slide, please. So disposal fee increase considerations. I did talk through the items to fund the CalPERS prepayment. We have about $18 million in CalPERS unfunded actuarial liability. And the goal is to get our CalPERS unfunded liability down to zero as fast as we can. And so we initiated an additional $500,000 payment annually in January. Increasing cost to capital for operating expenditures. I think there's a little error there. It's not on top of capital. We're expecting about $10 million in capital expenses next year. And then evaluating a 5-year capital projection, make sure that we have enough funds to do everything we want to do. 5-year labor MOUs at a higher cost of employment, assuming a 4% COLA. I think it's been trending around 3, but we did plug in 4, which was the ceiling for these 3 units. They're in a 5-year term now that will expire in 2028, and that will increase by $3.1 million. Continuing the path to fund the reserves, it's 20% of our operating costs. It's fully funded now. We just want to make sure that it stays that way. Keep pace with the cost of ongoing regulatory mandates. And this one is really shooting from the hip. CARB is mandating a stiffer compliance regulations on landfills for methane escaping from landfills. So we are going to see higher regulations imposed. I believe CARB and MBARD are really working through those regulations, how they're going to be applied at the local level. We're very curious. But this board has supported pathways for us to be ahead of the curve on a stiffer regulation, but this may require more wells to be dug, more remediation to be conducted, maybe additional staff to keep up with it. We're not really sure at this point, but we did pin in a number there that if it gets very aggressive, that we will see more cost to comply. And then we have the upcoming Allies bargaining, assuming an 8% increase, it will result in another $1.6 million in labor cost. The revenues, we can recognize the expiration of the Green Waste San Jose contract in 2036. We can look at the volatile recycling commodities market. Sometimes it's favorable, sometimes it's not. but we continue to stay diligent to be compliant with the state regulations. The Valley Recycling Agreement that we just signed is worth 2.1 million annually. That's gonna help. And then increased power production and sales. We just entered into agreement with 3CE, the Community Aggregate for Power. And we potentially think that's about 1.5 million estimated on the annual year if we could run for that amount of time. You know, we are very curious about that landfill gas utilization. Our assets are near expiration and looking for that longer view of, 20 to 30 years of how we best utilize the landfill gas. As everybody's aware, our compliance method is to use the flare. We use two different compliance methods. It's the flare in tandem with the engines. We would like to get into a business development where all of it is being used for beneficial use, either power or renewable natural gas that will have a benefit and that we could stop flaring while we have those operations in place. And then also other regional contracts of interest that could support our endeavor to pay down our risk and our liabilities are very important for us. Next slide, please. Revenue target pros. Steady fee increases on over 11-year period up to 2036 means less drastic long-term impacts. We're currently in a 2 of the 11-year period of projections. Our financial independence from out-of-district contracts is important for our organization, depending on how fast we want to use our landfill space capacity. So every ton goes in has an impact to how long our landfill will last. So, and that's been at the forefront of discussions with all the board in our workshops and prior budgetary meetings as well. The preservation of landfill life for future generations, potentially have 120 years of landfill life ahead of us, but it is all contingent on the decisions that the board makes on volume coming in and how we can financially support the regional agencies with the same amount of services. So it is a balancing act of the two. We have revenue built in the 11-year period to help infrastructure maintenance that would otherwise cost more in future or new projects with some return on investment. So we're looking at dropping our liability, paying down our AAUs. We also have a bond debt that we're paying back on. So we want to monitor those, but we really want to get all those liabilities and risks down as we navigate new terrain as we built in the projection for an 11-year period. Ability to negotiate favorable out-of-district contracts. By doing so and being financially independent, we can set the tone and the position when it comes to bargaining for our landfill space, contingent and evaluating our cost at the gate and what the needs of the organization are going to come into play. Next slide, please. The revenue target cons, we're going to have incremental increases every year. And every year since I've arrived, it's been about 5%, but the trajectory is leading us down a path. It's better than doing nothing at all. 2, it is starting to give us as an organization optics of all the detailed stuff that we need, that we want to work out. 20-year master plan, 5-year capital plan, and really good optics on what's coming in the future, technology, legislation, and then the continued effort of managing all the materials that we don't generate. We handle for the community in partnership with the haulers that are collecting the services at the curb. There's a potential higher per ton rate than neighboring landfills, but I don't believe we're there yet. I do have another slide that will talk to it, some comparisons that we're seeing in our market. And moving from previous strategy of being the lowest quartile to market rates. I think our strategy now is evaluating the markets and being closest to market, but also realizing what our competition is doing around us and recognizing those opportunities for engagement with our customers. Next slide, please. So here's the revenue impact by some of the rates that were for solid waste, the basic rate for MSW and construction and demolition. Our projection was 5.5, but because we're using rounding to the nearest dollar, we round it downward. So the actual is roughly 4.9%, has a value of $724,000 a year based on the existing volumes that are coming in. Residential organics is a 10.2% increase, and we recognize that we were close to break even there. So we did imply and evaluate the markets around others that are doing residential organics. So we're increasing that by 10.2%, value of $363,000 a year. Commercial organics, we increased by 5.8%. It's roughly worth $30,000 a year. Single stream recycling, 4.9%, roughly worth $64,000 a year. And that's kind of contingent of the market. That numbers can move up and down. And then ancillary disposal fees of $57,000, the target impact of $1.4 million in the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. Here's where we're seeking the proposed disposal fee changes from the board. And you can see the solid waste current rate is $81 going to $85. There's the percentage of increase right next to it. C&D from 81 to 85, residential organics from 49 to 54, commercial organics from 69 to 73, and single stream processing from 41 to 43, a 4.9% increase. No changes to the minimum fees. Next slide, please. Here is the impact on a 30 to 35 gallon cart for the disposal component, with the exception of Sand City that gets a basic rate of 64 gallons. But we did incorporate that change. And so you can go down the list by municipalities and notice that our impact to the fee is about 50 cents to the ratepayer that's getting curbside collection. And then when you look at the commercial on a 1 yard bin, under 275 is the high point, and your low point is at 96 cents. So that's the impact per cubic yard. I think the standard size out there probably between 2 and 4 yards, and then you have a bunch that are 6. So this number could also expand itself depending on cubic yards that are being serviced at a commercial end. Next slide, please. So here we see the fee comparison, and so we wanted to make sure that we're looking at the market and evaluating it. It's difficult. If your fees are too expensive, we can lose some of the value of customers coming to our gate. And we went all the way up into South San Jose, Milpitas area, things that were accessible for some of the services that we're providing that are regional. And there's the telling tale, the tip fee. ReGen is at 81. I think Salinas Valley Recycles is scheduled for a $3 increase, but they also have an AB 939 fee that I'm not so familiar with, but it is in addition to. And then you have John Smith Landfill at 65.50, but they're also limited on only taking volume from San Benito because they are either looking to expand or create a transfer station. So this gives us a good value of where we're at in the market and trying to stay just below it, but also make enough money to continue all the activities that we need to cover here in our liabilities and responsibleness for managing material. Next slide, please. Here's another slide, and it was really to represent the 5.5% projection. And we know that it is an evaluated percentage every year. We're looking at other inflows. So this year we'll have an impact, which is the new agreement with Valley Recycle for a short term, but it could minimize what our increases look like year over year. If we get full values from our cogen plant, that may be another revenue onboarding that could reduce the values that we're looking at every year. But we're going to stick with our methodology until we find more evidence that it needs to either be changed upward or downward. We're in the second year, and we just want to see the trajectory doing the same thing with the rate. Is our ability to be independent is going to go with the rate as well. At this time, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you. Questions from the directors? Yeah, Director Barber.
Yeah, thank you for the report. I just had a question. I know you said this, but I didn't catch all the other pieces of the 3CE partnership.
Yeah.
When did that begin, and how do we look at that saving the costs, as far as what cost savings that would actually bring?
Yeah, so we entered into the agreement in January, and we started initiating power to 3C. The transition occurred in February. And it was to deliver 17,000 megawatt hours over an annual period over into the grid that 3CE would manage for us at $80 a megawatt hour. Prior to that, we were in an agreement with a company called Three Phases, which is similar to the 3CE. And we were getting about $25 a megawatt plus some rebates on top of it, gave it a value of about $40 a megawatt hour. So we're going to make about twice as much. But it was really done interim while we're looking at our optics for a 20-year vessel. So we did some rebuilds to get our engines to be able to run for at least 1 year. Potentially that agreement could be spread over 3 years as we develop the permanent solution that staff will bring to the board. Is what is the best way to maximize the total value? And from Director Ramirez's standpoint, it's every molecule that's being produced out there in the landfill, we want to get some sort of return on it, and that's what we're evaluating right now. I would say we're using maybe a little bit less than half of the total volume of gas that's in the landfill, and we want to get higher, maybe between 90 and 100%. Would make us feel a lot better that we're maximizing the potential value coming out of the landfill resource. And again, it's a byproduct of the trash, and it's used for beneficiary reuse, right now it's in power, but we are looking at other options, which could be renewable natural gas going into the natural gas pipeline.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question about so on slide 8, where it talked about the residential organic yard trimming having a larger increase than the other items. Can you just speak a little bit more about that? And you mentioned that we're trying to get to like a break even for the cost of that product.
So we just traditionally over the 5 years had overlooked increasing that rate when we were looking at it at market. So we knew that had market space, and also recognized that our return was near break even. So we were just barely making anything on it. So it's a strong suggestion from staff to get us to a more comfortable level where we're not just breaking even to provide a service. Yeah.
Okay. And then on the other items, the cost of providing those services, where are we at in terms of percentage? We're recovering our full cost on everything else?
Yes.
Okay. And then one other question, on the curbside impact, slide number, down here a little bit farther, slide number 9. Can you just speak briefly to the reason that the impact is different on each of the cities?
Yeah, because every city has its ancillary service packages within the agreement.
So, no, I mean just the cost of the amount attributable to ReGen.
Oh, the number of customers, the number of residential customers to commercial customers. That's the result there. Yeah. And then I think also probably that plays a factor is proximity to the landfill.
Okay, so it's the cost for the provider, the hauler to provide services, these specific services.
The disposal service, yes, the disposal piece.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, all right, good. Director Blackfolder.
I'm curious if 1383 becomes very successful and we get all the organics out of the landfill, where we're going to get our methane from?
The methane is still projected to go upwards with the volume that we have in there. There's some what we would call newer material in the landfill that still has to go through its process. We have a compliance obligation for 50 years after the closure. That's how long the methane will still be being created, maybe not as clean as we desire. But in the near term, we probably collecting less than 10% of all the organics that's going into the landfill. So we still have some work on the education side to adopt the process, You heard the process about having a bucket and whether it was warranted to have it or not. I think it's the buy-in from the consumer to get it from the kitchen to the green waste cart. We try to make it as easy as possible, but if you've ever experienced the bucket and forgetting to taking it out, you come back, it's smells, it's starting to mold on you. And so, we're learning from the implementation that we started in 2022, but it needs to get pushed a little bit harder. And there may be some benefits when they start imposing fines for the material to be in there. What we have seen is recycling start getting audited real time as it's getting dumped into there to make sure there's no trash in there. Usually fees are attached when trash is being thrown in with the recycling. They're starting to do the same for the green waste. And we may start seeing some sort of legislation come out that would invoke looking at what's in the trash to keep it out from the landfill. But I don't think we're that far yet, but I'm just forward thinking of if we needed to do more of that because we needed to, that's how it's going to happen. Yeah.
So we're in a good position regardless of the amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Other questions? Yeah, Director Fedori.
Thank you. Thank you for going through this. I have a few questions, just bear with me.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I wanted to just at least comment on the fact that, noting the macroeconomic environment that we're in right now, also a lot of things going on with labor tariffs, whatnot. I think it's justified to say that these increases are going to happen in the future too. But the question I had was, you started off the presentation by saying haulers were calling you about the.
Yeah, because they want to start working on their calculation based on what we're going to propose to the board. It's an annual item. I have Jim Maresco back there. When I first got here, he would call me in January. When are you going to have your projected rate already? So it just helps the hauler get a number that's going to be viable for the board and that we're not going to move drastically from, right? And I would look at this increase as the highest increase that we need. And if we needed to reduce it, it would be a benefit for the haulers. They can go in there and make the actual change. But it is anticipating they also need to run their calculation, get it verified, and then get it to the municipality and then get it on your agenda as well. So they have some work that needs to be performed that's outside of this ReGen meeting.
What I'm really getting at is haulers are also used to the fact that the rate increases are happening.
Yes.
On an annual basis,
Yes.
which is why they're calling you.
Yes.
And so the slide over here, which says X amount of money for each jurisdiction, it can vary, right? Like even it can vary beyond this based on each jurisdiction.
It will vary because there's components for every city. I mean, I'll take Carmel by the Sea for one. There's a lot of on-property services in there. The hauler is going to have different components that impact. It's going to be reployed to employment, their fuel cost, things that are year over year higher than they were prior year. Those are items that they're going to bring to the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. Then I just, from my benefit at least, looks like we're projecting 5%, 5.5%. Is that directly tied to that CPI? And is the index the CPI that we're looking at?
No, we're assuming a 3.5% CPI and then the other 2% to make us more independent every year as we move closer to expiration of other contracts.
Just tossing it out there, it's always good to have an index, number one, but possibly considering a cap there for the board to consider, because I don't know what the future holds. I don't want like a drastic 15% increase 1 year just because we need to justify something. I would rather keep it like on the low end, just noting it and something to consider. My other item here is just the way I read it is that it costs more for us to manage solid waste versus organics, just because how it's tied, right, per ton. So it's 81 per ton versus $50 a ton for organic waste.
I think it's least expensive for us to manage the solid waste. And because we have more volume coming in, we become more efficient with volume. On the organic side, you're seeing a variance between residential and commercial, mainly because commercial is more contaminated than the residential stuff. Residential is pretty clean. The main reason is when we started implementing our commercial program, we allowed for compostable bags and other compostables, foodware to be disposed with the commercial. So we have to process that material with a lot more effort than we do the clean material, and that's reflective in the rate.
Okay, so if I were to put it another way, the more jurisdictions divert organics from trash, the better they'll be served off in the future with
Yes.
respect to.
Yes.
Yes.
It's cheaper to process the food waste on the food waste side than it is for trash, but it's intentionally built that way.
Okay,
So we want to keep people from having a cheaper option than doing the right thing. So our rate structure reflects that as well.
got it. And then I would say just a couple of final thoughts here on the revenue piece, which is obviously the 2036 thing matters, like for
Yeah.
us as an organization. If we were to get something similar as San Jose in this interim period, will that allow us to lower this cost?
Yes, it will. Because the goal is to reduce liabilities, right? Get all liabilities or AUs paid down. And essentially, it's easier to operate the organization. But because of the debt that we incurred with building the MRF, building a truck yard, and the other infrastructures that we desire to repair that, some of them are dated. The cogen plant is 1980, so it's over 40 years old. We really need to do something now if we want to continue to do business in power or renewable natural gas, because the system is dated and we're running it to the end of life, but we need to make decisions here. And that's why we've been so aggressive with study 1, study number 2, and potentially a business model study that will come in the future. So it can get us closer to stop bringing a position on what direction are we going to be going in as an organization.
Okay. And then final thing, this rate increase, this keeps us competitive. I mean, so let's say we're obviously gonna increase the rate, it appears that, but this, how does this factor into any like commercial and opportunities that we're going after to increase revenue? So for example, a substitute for San Jose, does this rate increase play into that conversation?
Yeah, because the market continues to grow, right? And so as the market grows, the value in our assets grow. And so we become more competitive in pricing. Even today, our pricing is not what it was 15 years ago. So it is continuing to value and put a dollar sign on our commodity, which is landfill space, processing material through the MRF, and processing material through compost. And there's other areas that are benefiting as well, the HHW facility, the last chance store. So this organization is highly doing what it can to keep material out of the landfill, yet we're still running all the different services. And I think that's mainly what's our priority, is that we don't lose services as we get more subjective on being independent.
Got it. I think we can have an offline conversation, but one of the things that I'm looking for is how can we be competitive, and what are the variables that drive that competition for us to bid successfully?
We'll set up a meeting and we can follow up on that.
All right, thank you. Yeah. But I'm supportive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we go to slide? Okay, thank you. Can we go to slide 4, disposal fee increase considerations? Something we talked about in the finance committee and other smaller meetings is trying to put a number, as Felipe just said, put a number to some of these. And so these numbers we're seeing are new on the operations side. And it's getting to what I think is really helpful, that the ballpark, if you want, or however close we can get to being accurate, ballpark is acceptable if that's the best we can do. Ballpark numbers on the operations sides that have a total, and then ballpark or estimates, better estimates than that on the revenue side that have a total. And hopefully those two totals kind of align, and that the revenue side could include proposed increases and how much there's going to bring in. Because if our proposed operation cost need is close to our revenue estimate, then we can ask the public for justifiable rate increases. We need your rate increases so that the operations meet revenues. But the more we stay qualitative and not quantitative, the harder it is for the public and for us to justify the rate increases, because of course those are very quantitative. So I hope that we can continue to move toward quantitatively justifying what we're doing for our board needs for information, but also for the public, because I think they're probably getting increases everywhere. And if we get in the habit of being very logical and quantitative, and I don't want to use that cliche transparent, but that it's easy for the public to digest why we're raising rates, the better. Can we go to slide 6, the neighboring landfills? Let's see here.
10.
Slide 6 just shows potential higher rate per ton than neighboring landfills. It will go there next. You can leave it up there, but that slide there talks about potentially we're going to be higher costs per ton than neighboring landfills. So if I have a truck full of concrete that's 3 tons, I might try out the neighboring landfill instead of coming here, and then I might like it and start going there. Can you go to the next slide, the one that you just had? Yeah, that one. So, and it concerns me on the surface, just for first glance, that our neighboring landfills, the 3 in Salinas, 2 in Salinas, 1 in San Benito, are less. And if we keep increasing, and if they don't keep increasing, and we're not really sure what they're going to do, we're going to be more, the delta will grow. And so I doubt that people in the peninsula are going to drive to Colon Road. I doubt they're going to drive to John Smith over near Hollister. But I don't know, will they drive to Johnson Canyon? Is that an option, that people will go to Johnson Canyon because they're going to save $10 per ton or something like that?
It is an option, but there is an asterisk down there. There's a component, AB 939 fee, that would add more cost to that gate rate total. So you don't know what it is. We can do discovery, but I'm not overly concerned, mainly because the landfill life in Johnson Canyon is a lot less than ours, and they are taking in volumes from the city of Salinas, which is enormous. So they do have concerns of their own as well, and they're also not running all the operations that we're running in Johnson Canyon. So they don't have a material recycling facility. They don't have a store. So there is some differences in the operations themselves, but I'm not overly concerned at this time, Mayor.
So then, as a board member, I would feel more comfortable if I had better description of the comparison. So, we don't have to worry because X, Y, and Z. Because just looking at this, I'm a little bit concerned, but we just heard some good justification. And I thought earlier that we don't fully understand the extra fee from AB 939. So if we don't understand how much they're charging, then we really don't understand the comparison. And we want to stay competitive, like Chap said. So I think we might need a little more information to ensure us board members that we're where we want to be competition-wise. The last thing I want to say is about apartments on slide 8 and 9. Slide 8 and 9 talk about residential versus commercial. And residential is single-family homes, but commercial includes multifamily. Is that right?
That's accurate.
Yeah, so he's saying yes. So if I live in an apartment, my landlord is paying higher rates, much higher rates than if I live in a single family. And I just wanted Felipe to give a very high-level reason, without specifics, why that's so. Because I'm hearing in Marina, some apartment property managers or managers are complaining that they pay more than the residential rate.
Yeah. I think some of the answers should be coming from the hauler themselves as well. I'm going to give you my shoot from the hip from my past experience is commercial is not as efficient as residential. Residential is going to go and collect 800 cans in one day. Extremely efficient. Commercial customers, you may get 100 if you're lucky, maybe 80 if it's dense. So your efficiency drops and the number of services you're providing is less. So that is an offset to the cost. So I don't know if it's exactly the reason in every municipality, but you asked for a high level answer. My high level answer is they're probably less efficient and probably using more fuel for the commercials than they are residential.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, Director Burns.
That was excellent comments and a lot of what I was going to ask, especially the mayor. I guess I had the exact opposite viewpoint though. He was worried about, are we too high? I would really love to see those numbers to see if we are too low, because there's a lot of people above us too, so.
Yeah, and I think that's what brings the surety of, I think we're right at the sweet spot. It's not a benefit for us to be absolutely the lowest, and history has kind of demonstrated that to the organization, is being the lowest is not always the best. Why? Because if we can't manage the business, we can't take care of the people, you have kind of a turn in what we're doing. So it's really hard for not financially being able to support the organization, things begin to start falling apart. So
I just think, I agree that I think we should put some time into really thoroughly understanding that, because that's the whole game, right?
Sure.
If we can get another $2 out of that, it goes right to the bottom line.
And I just want you to know, we staff did the effort of compiling all the data from all these locations on all the rates. And that's why our confidence is high, because we did exactly what you guys are looking for us to explain, is evaluating the market and really making considerations. How close can we get to it without losing customers, but also being viable in a financial position to the best position available for the organization.
Very good job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your work.
Yeah, I agree with Mayor Byrne. When we look at those low rates, that delta, we're probably really close to that. But when you look at the delta between Santa Cruz County and us, there's a big margin there. I think we do have room to grow. And we are an organization that has a lot of services. And I know we're very proud of that, and we want to make sure we maintain that. I want to thank staff for taking the time to look 11 years in advance. I think it's very thoughtful to recognize that we are going to be in serious trouble when that contract ends. And so to get us to a better place, I think that does help with future negotiations with other regional contracts, just as you mentioned. And it gives us, as we slowly do these increases, it does give us the ability to, we need to put in money so that we can start making more money on our landfill gas, right? We need to have that, those studies. We need to make sure we're making good decisions that are going to benefit us in the future. And I know probably for several years, we didn't have a lot of rate increases, and we are certainly doing more now. I'm comfortable with it because I feel like there's room for this, and I think it's really well thought out. So I appreciate the work that all of you have done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I really appreciate the conversation, and I so value the perspectives of this board. I really just wanted to say that to start with. But I also think, and as we look at the rates and the conversation about the rates, we need to be fiscally responsible as an agency. And I think that's, for me, the bottom line is not like how can we, where we fit in the framing of like high to low, because it is nuanced and there are so many factors in there. We need to be aware of that for sure. The cost of gas to drive across town even is significant. So, but really for me, when we're thinking about our the rate setting and the finances, it really is so that we can provide exceptional service to our residents at the lowest cost possible. And so for me, that's the piece, that's the value proposition that's at play. So we may be lower than everyone else, but so long as we're covering the costs that we need to cover, fantastic. Or we may, need to have increases in order to remain fiscally to steward this landfill into the future. And those are the more important factors when I look at everything in front of us. And I think we're on the right path. So yeah. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. Any other questions, directors? No? All right, we'll open this item up for public comment. Any public comments on this item? All of you and no. Anyone online, Ida? No? Okay. No? Okay, I'll close public comments on this item and bring it back to the board for motion, further discussion.
Move approval.
All right,
I'll second.
all right, we have a motion by Director Perduri and a second by Director Root Askew.
And just a comment.
Yeah.
For the discussion section. So I basically agree with all of my colleagues here. And my overall punchline is if we're going to be raising rates over 10 years, which I support because they're needed, that the better job we do of showing how our costs are matching those increased revenues, I think that's all the public wants to hear. And I think that's kind of what Wendy was saying.
I agree. Good comment. Thank you. Any further
I want to thank the finance committee. They did a really good job. All the staff that supported all the questions, getting to our position today. Hopefully we can improve when we bring it back the next time as well and isolate those items of concern for the board and continue to move forward. But I appreciate all the questions and all the positions of the board members. Thank you.
Yeah, Director Britton.
Go along with that. The commitment to paying down our CalPERS debt and actually saying it out loud is a big deal. And I think that message needs to go out because I think that should spread to all of our cities. And that's a huge commitment. And that's I'm proud of that.
Yeah. That's one of the things I really like about this organization is that we really are looking at all those things, even the post, our reserves that we need to maintain to make this a viable agency. So yeah. So, all right. With that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. All right, we'll move on to staff reports for the 2030 collection franchise planning update. Zoe.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, members of the public today. My name is Zoe Schotz, Director of Communications, and I'm here to provide a brief update on the 2030 collection franchise planning efforts. As I presented in the last couple of months, we have a TAC franchise subgroup that is comprised of members of the member agencies currently represented by Green Waste. And we are working with HF&H consultants to assist in that planning process. We're currently in phase 1 still, which is the public and stakeholder engagement phase of this process. And as I presented in the last couple months, we're using various channels to gather feedback from single-family residential, multifamily residential, commercial, as well as industry stakeholders. And we're trying to understand levels of satisfaction, program awareness from our current service provider, Green Waste. And we're also trying to learn from the public priorities for the future. What do your constituents want in 2030 service provider? So, and also lastly, we are gauging the attractiveness of this opportunity to go open to a competitive RFP or not. So hearing from other potential haulers. So at this point, the TAC franchise subgroup is now charged with creating a recommendation for this board to hear first in April. And we're using, again, HF&H consultants to help with that process. We're evaluating all the pros and cons of either going out to sole source a negotiation with Green Waste or an RFP. So that recommendation will come from the TAC franchise subgroup to this board. And then the request from this board would be to recommend a solution for the 7 councils and boards that are currently served by Green Waste for their approval. So just trying to keep everyone headed in the same direction and on a timeline that those approvals would come in May to the various councils and boards for their consideration. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Zoe. Questions, Director Perduri?
Yes. So I don't have questions about the report. The report's great. Thank you. But in line with the conversation that we just had, can we have some performance-based incentives for the contract that we eventually have or currently have that will allow us to meet some diversion targets?
Yes, those things can be outlined in the contract between Green Waste or different hauler in the requirements that they meet.
Yes, so my point is, it's not just us as an organization trying to meet targets. The haulers need to be on the hook for it in some sense too. And I think if we have a combined target to say achieving X amount of organic waste by say 2036, then I think that needs to get into the contract somehow, and maybe a performance-based incentive could help. But there may be other thoughts there.
Yes, and currently Green Waste does provide quarterly and annual reports that include diversion targets, because you're right, so much happens at the curb. I mean, it starts in the household, right? In terms of what we all do and which bin we use to put things in. But then some of those assurances to make sure the customers are doing what they're supposed to do happens with Green Waste at the curb. So cart tagging, communication, public education to ensure that diversion happens. And then we here also provide diversion through our processes. So you're right. It's a multi-step process, and that collaboration between the hauler and the service provider, us here, is very important.
Yeah, if anything, what I've learned through these past few months is there's a lot going on here just within this organization to meet certain things, and I'm sure we're becoming more efficient, doing a lot of things, and I'm sure it's the same kind of process or maybe some kind of things that are happening at the hauler side too. So maybe whatever they can come up with, unique or otherwise, will help.
Certainly, and we're evaluating the different service aspects, I guess, that the potential haulers and the current hauler could provide moving forward, because there are new technologies that are already coming about, and we're looking at, a long-term contract. So we want to make sure that we're looking at what is possible for today, and then also what could come in the future years, because some of these contracts are 10, 15 years, and making sure that we're keeping on trend and using technology to be able to have more diversion is very important, and safety.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Chaps are just talking about, I think you called it incentives. I'm not sure what word you used.
I said performance-based incentive, which
Performance-based
is
incentive.
if they, for example, they meet, if the diversion rate goes up from 40 to 50%, then perhaps that's when they can assess the jurisdiction that, okay, the rate increase can happen, something like that. So,
Or it can be 1% more, or whatever, 0.5% more. Along that line of thinking, if we went to an RFP, and I know we're not there yet, could we you score the RFP submittals against one another, and maybe they top out 100 points possible. Could we give bonuses in the RFP scoring according to how well, I guess we kind of already do this, but kind of how well they do at increasing the diversion rate? How are you going to meet an increased diversion rate of 10% on organics by 2036, or those kind of details, and how they answer that helps to increase their score if they do well, so that we can pick the submitter that meets the incentives as one, meets our goals as one of the criteria that we use. And when we get to prevailing wages or livable wages, we as an organization, and Chaps mentioned this too, that we're doing our thing, and part of our thing is trying to get people up to a livable wage of at least $28 an hour. And right now they're around $22 an hour or something like that. But we're trying to move in that direction. But the rest of the world, we'd like our partners, if that could be possible, we'd like that to be done too. So another bonus in the RFP scoring could be, how well are you doing on the wages you're paying your people, or some healthcare metric, or the kind of metrics that we're using. How well would these prospective bidders meet those metrics? Is that possible to throw some of those criteria or metrics into the RFP process?
I will take your comments and feedback back to the TAC franchise subgroup and to HF&H consultants, because they are really the experts in developing an RFP process. Should that be the direction that we go in? So I don't want to answer your question specifically, because I'd like to know if that's how these types of things are generally evaluated. But certainly, if that's the board's direction in terms of like an important aspect, or more importantly, your counsel's direction, that might be something to consider, and I see Felipe.
I just want to add a reminder for everybody here. You guys do have a staff from your city representing every one of the agencies that is attending the subcommittee.
Mhm.
So some of those intentional requests could come directly from your staff representative at the tax subcommittee.
Correct.
And then they invoke the discussion there. Zoe is just really organizing the municipalities and HF&H, kind of realizing we hear what we get there, so we'll take that back. But also this direct line to the staff member, that it is, maybe we can send out an email to every person here to let them know who that direct staff member is. It could help with other suggestions that want to be brought forward before we get further down the line. We're right in the middle of it. This is perfect timing. And the discussions are happening very intensely. So those items are going right to Zoe. Staff members could elaborate the discussions that we're going to intensely have moving forward. And they're going to happen at a rapid pace because we want to know what we are doing and have enough time to complete it. Thank you for your input, Zoe.
Thank
All
you.
right, I just had two more comments. A concrete example is Marina's building this $41 million aquatic center. When it got to the RFP stage, we said, let's put in some bonuses for if the bidders are doing really good healthcare, if they're paying really good wages, if they're doing apprenticeships, they can get up to 20 bonus points on the 100-point score. And so it looks like the bidders are coming in trying to meet these bonuses scorings more than they might have. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from, that little bit of experience, not much. And the other comment is I'm really appreciative that the CEO of Green Waste, Mr. Elms, is here today, because when we make this decision of RFP versus no RFP, it's helpful if we're familiar with our current partner. The more familiar we are with our current partner, the better we're going to be able to evaluate, the choice we have coming up. And I got the tenor from what Mr. Elms was saying, that maybe he didn't agree with the TAC, that maybe the TAC was underestimating Green Waste's educational efforts and output. But you're at the TAC and you know more than I do. Can you comment on that?
Mr. Elms is here.
Yeah.
You have him speak on his own behalf.
Yeah, that would be better, I think.
All right, so Mr. Elms, you gave a rundown of what Green Waste is doing, and I just thought I heard in your voice, it's like, hear me, because I don't feel like I'm being heard out, I need to be here to tell you this because I don't think I'm being heard at the TAC.
Sure, yeah, certainly that's why I'm here today, is to, as you say, get a bit more familiarity with some of you as board members. We certainly feel that our reputation speaks for itself. We certainly feel that we are your partner of choice. We want to be your partner of choice. We think there's benefits to not going through a convoluted RFP process. That's the message we're trying to promote. We think we've got a little bit of work to do to more communicate directly with you about our performance, and so hence that's why I'm here today, to sort of start or rebuild on some of that process. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you think the TAC process that's been going on the last several months is accurately reflecting the deliverables that you're bringing?
Not necessarily.
Okay, and that was part of your tenor.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
If I could make a slight clarification on the TAC versus the TAC franchise subgroup, just for everyone's awareness, so that there's a larger TAC, which is comprised of all the haulers and the member agencies and ReGen as the service provider. So there are topics that come for mutual discussion and benefit as we all kind of collaborate on current and future initiatives. The TAC franchise subgroup for these planning efforts in 2030 is solely comprised of your member agencies. And that's due to the fact that it's a competitive process. And we can't have the haulers in the room as we're discussing their performance and possible alternatives. So we're talking about two separate meetings. And definitely there has been a lot of collaboration from Green Waste attending. Bessie, who's here, Jose, have been attending our TAC for many years and have been very collaborative. They work with us on everything from reporting to public education. We We do outreach together many times. So I think the collaboration in public education and outreach is strong between our two agencies. But the franchise planning process is really one just solely of the member agencies and making sure that that direction comes from your representatives and then ultimately the approvals come from your councils as to which direction we're going to go in. And I, again, am just a coordinator in this process. I don't have any stake in the game. It's just trying to make sure that we have the consultant and your member agencies at the table and participating in this process so everyone's well informed for that decision. And that's why I come to your board on a monthly basis too, is so it's not surprise meeting in April with all of this information that we've been doing in the background. And suddenly you're presented with all of this, this large decision, quite frankly, as to which direction you want to go in.
Zoe, I had a question about the public outreach. How successful was that in terms of getting feedback? You had workshops.
Oh, yes.
You did the online. I filled out an online survey. My husband did, right? There was postcards sent out. I felt like that was effective in terms of my bubble. People were saying like, "Oh yeah, I got one of those too." So I was just curious how the TAC felt about the response they had from that.
I think so far we have a really clear picture on the priorities and also the priorities of your constituents, and then also the landscape. So we'll be presenting that in April. So there'll be much more there's an in-depth presentation that is coming at the April board meeting that will outline the results of all of those collective efforts and show you what level of engagement was had at all these different things, whether it be the residential survey, the outreach meetings that were elective for people to attend if they weren't surveyed, the multifamily stakeholder and commercial stakeholder outreach. So there'll be a full presentation on that, and then we'll allow you to see those results and make your own judgments in terms of which direction we should go.
And at that time is when you'll give us a recommendation of what direction to go.
Correct. The franchise tax subgroup's recommendation will come to this board, and we're hoping that this board supports that recommendation, and then that would go to the councils. And we're just trying to basically get as many people here because you're all representing different boards and councils to give a direction, if you will, for your boards and councils as a recommendation. And because really, frankly, if we have one service provider, whoever that may be in 2030, continuing for your 7 major member agencies, that's where we get the most efficiency in the collection service.
Right. Okay, that's good to know that's coming up. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Just a quick comment. I think it's great that I believe it came up with the idea of sending and emailing to all of us, the staff that are actually on this particular committee, and thank you for the clarification that it is a difference, between the regular TAC and between the specific TAC that's been tasked with the planning. And so thank you for that clarification. But I think knowing our staff who's on this particular one will be able to give us greater insight to what's going forward. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do that today.
Great. All right.
Great.
Thank you, Zoe. Appreciate it. All right. Next is other correspondence, which is the LAFCO ballot results and vote for alternate member. So we received notification of who was elected in the last election. And so now we are voting on the alternate member for LAFCO for special districts. And Ida, I want to thank you. She sent out 2 public comments that we received yesterday from each candidate. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up to public comments on this item right now, so we can hear from anyone in the public who would like to comment on this, and then I can bring it back to the board for discussion.
Good morning, Chair and Directors and General Manager Melchor. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. It was nice. My name is Bill Light, and I'm a Director of the Resource Conservation District of Monterey County. I'm also a candidate for the alternate Independent Special District Commissioner seat on Monterey County LAFCO. And I wanted to appear before you because, ReGen represents something important in our county, regionally significant public infrastructure that requires long-range planning, technical competence, sound governance, and environmental responsibility. Too often, agencies like yours are only noticed when something goes wrong. But in reality, integrated waste management is essential to public health, environmental stewardship, and the effective functioning of our communities. My own experience has been countywide and practical. Through 8 years on the RCDMC board and broader work involving water, land stewardship, wildfire mitigation, and interagency coordination across many types of districts and communities. That is why I believe the alternate seat should be viewed as a meaningful opportunity to add balance and independent perspective at LAFCO. If one seat reflects one set of relationships or experience, the alternate seat can help ensure broader representation across the full range of Monterey County special districts, including regional infrastructure like yours, like ReGen. The alternate seat should add balance, not duplication. And LAFCO is strongest when it reflects the full range of special districts it is meant to oversee. I would respectfully ask for your support for the alternate seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lay. Any other public comment on this item? No? All right, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Does the board have any comments? Yeah, Director
I have a
Rudowski.
question actually, and I don't know if we can ask the candidate, but there's some really, and my comments come as our region representative, but also as the chair of LAFCO currently, and the chair of California LAFCO Association. And so there are some very significant issues facing our local LAFCO, to include the lawsuit with CalAm, or the lawsuit with the water agency, and as well as some fairly significant annexation requests that are coming in from our South County cities. And so the balance of housing and ag preservation, our local LAFCO passed a ag preservation policy last year. That policy is now sort of on the table to be tested and upheld or not upheld. Can we ask the candidates who are here to speak on their position on those items or their perspective on those items? Because I would like to hear that. I think that's a fundamental question that's before us.
I'm okay with that as the legal counsel. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say just specifically on the water issues that LAFCO has at its.
If you give me some context, I'd be happy to respond.
The context around, I'd love to know what your positions are on the biggest issues facing LAFCO currently, our current LAFCO, which would include the CalAm lawsuit, the Water District lawsuit,
let me speak to that because I've commented on that, not extensively, but I've made comments on it publicly. I believe Measure J was a very powerful statement by the people that live in that district. And whether you agree with them or not, there was close to 60% of the voters wanted a feasibility study to buy out CalAmco, it's a former fertilizer supplier, CalAm, and the district staff did the feasibility study, deemed that they could, negotiate for a buyout. And from the outside looking in as a member of the public, obviously I didn't go to any of the meetings. I just read sort of the results of what happened. I thought what happened was Salinas Valley standing up and blocking the will of the voters in the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. That was my read, and that's just my opinion as a member of the public. I thought it was a really disenfranchisement of the voters in that water management district who wanted to do something different. And I'm no fan of CalAm. I mean, they have a right to exist, and they obviously purvey water all across the country. They're a very profitable company. But I just thought the way that was handled didn't sound right or seem right to me. So hopefully that answers your question as to how I saw it as a member of the public.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Other questions, comments on this item?
I guess I'll say that I think we have two good candidates. it was refreshing and surprising for me to hear Bill's response to Wendy's question. So I thank you, Bill, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for getting that clarified, because that's an important issue.
It is. I'll just say to the chair,
Yeah.
LAFCO is it's a kind of bizarre agency that has tremendous power, and the appointments that are made to LAFCO are significant and have significant effect on the lives of our residents today and truly into the future. They will determine, what the future of agriculture in our county is, will determine what the future of housing looks like in our county, and apparently also determine how all of our special districts and the type of powers that special districts are able to utilize in service to our residents. We've had a number of very contentious and complicated issues come before LAFCO and in the last 5 years. And so these are important appointments to make. I will say I've had the honor of serving with the other candidate who's the incumbent member, and I have deep respect for all of the folks, even when we have disagreements, who sit on that board. But having heard the feedback today and seen the applications before us, I do think it would be appropriate to have some new vision, some new ideas in that space. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to support the vote for Bill Light as the alternate member for LAFCO.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Director Rudowski and a second by Director Barber. Thank you. Any further communication on that?
I just want to make a statement that, like, typically when this is just across the board, like just generally, how much do you want the position? Right? And this is just an alternate position. At the end of the day, it's not the main primary position. But the fact that Bill is here in person, to me, does resonate compared to David, who just shot an email. So it also reflects like who has time to devote, because that's a big component of all of this, is how much does somebody have time to do the activity. So I think it speaks well for Mr. Lipe that you're here. So I would support Bill's recommendation too.
Okay. Yeah, Director Byrne.
Since not all of you are in the meetings, I can add that Bill comes to the mayor's meetings as well and has spoken several times. So he shows up. For what that's worth, he shows up.
Okay. Director Delgado, did you have?
Yeah, I agree with Chaps that this is the alternate position. And it's obvious that sometimes the alternate, for whatever circumstance, becomes the person voting in the seat. Sometimes it's unexpectedly. And so if the alternate were to take the dais, I think from what I've seen from Bill today, and as you mentioned in the Mayor's Association meeting, yeah, I think Bill would do a good job.
I'll add more context. So at LAFCO, alternates have a significant role. They attend every meeting and they're engaged in every conversation.
If they show up.
We encourage them to show up. They're welcome and encouraged. And the context for the meetings are just in the LAFCO world. Alternates are at every closed session. They're a part of everything that's going on. So they may not vote if the primary is voting, but they're a part of the conversation and they shape the narrative that plays out in the policy that's formed. Yeah.
And then they're able to vote if our special district representative is not there to vote.
Right.
I see.
Right. And we've had, because of the contentiousness of issues, we've had primaries not able to vote for a variety of reasons. I see.
But they do participate in the discussion and,
Yes.
and expressing their opinions.
Fully participate in all discussions. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, we have a motion on the floor. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. We'll move on to General Manager Communications. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few today. As you noted in the General Manager Communications, we do have a few new employees. I'll first start off that we hired a new Director of Finance, Rosanna Guerrero. She's not here today. She'll be at our next meeting. She did have a pre-scheduled meeting. It has been here for 3 weeks and is showing great indicators of picking up our industry and is bringing great attributes to the table. So we're excited to welcome Rosanna Guerrero. We also have our HR generalist, Ruby Espino, if you could raise your hand. She's learning at lightning speed. Ruby's been here for over 4 weeks now. We're excited to have her on our team as well. Giselle Koktepe has stepped out, but she also just was informed that she will be now the district's finance manager for the organization. So we're excited for Giselle. She too is showing a lot of appreciation to learn, and also her contributions are being felt today. She's done a lot of the legwork to get us to where we're at with the budget, along with the senior team to prepare us for budget season. So we're seeing some new faces, but I think their attributes are going to go a long ways. And I think longevity could come with all the hires that we have. So pretty excited to add the new team. Also moving on to JACE evaluations for member jurisdictions. Kristen O'Hara, can you please raise your hand? Oh, Kristen has had to do a lot of work in this work for preparation for JACE 5-year evaluations for all the agencies that sit on this board. So it was in a large lift amount of dedicated time to her. She worked on it when she was well, when she was sick, when she had other obligations. And I believe in the last 2 days or so, she just got completed with all of those 5-year evaluations. So JACE is a compliance and enforcement from CalRecycle, which assesses whether cities and counties are meeting their state solid waste and organics regulations, including Senate Bill 1383 requirements, through regular coordination with jurisdictional staff. And Kristen has helped interpret reporting requirements, organize the outreach documentation, and advise local staff on how to clearly demonstrate their compliance efforts during the evaluation process. Her collaboration with both member jurisdictions and CalRecycle reviewers has helped each agency ensure that they're well prepared to report their programs and progress. Kudos to Kristen for her leadership and guidance to all the jurisdictions. And for the leaders of some of these jurisdictions that we have them here, I think it's highly important that we keep our eye on the responsibility of the jurisdictions. I think we're very fortunate to have Kristen to navigate the full process. It's a huge benefit, but also letting your municipalities know this is equally as important on the staff side to come engage and learn the process and evaluate it as good as Kristen can. So that'd be a huge support, because we do have 9 reporting agencies that we support. It is a huge lift for one person, and I'm just glad that Kristen comes with that expertise already to us. So thank you.
Okay. Felipe, may I add one
Sure,
comment?
sure, absolutely.
Kristen has done a fabulous job, as have your staff members of your member agencies. But one other person who's in the room today is Bessie from Green Waste Recovery, and she has also been working on these reports from the hauler. So just kudos to Bessie for your collaboration in
Thank you,
getting these
Bessie.
reports.
I got an opportunity to attend the Resource and Recycling Conference. I also was able to take Leo Martinez, who's our MRF supervisor, to this event in San Diego. And we were chosen to speak on a panel, Maximizing Recovery MRF Strategies for a Circular Future. We attended February 24th. I was invited to share ReGen's experience with AI technology being used at our MRF to improve our recycling operations, including how real-time data is helping staff adjust equipment and increase material capture rates. Conference organizers also asked that we speak about our philosophy on our workplace culture and our professional advancement for our frontline staff. As an example, Felipe invited Leo, our supervisor, who began his career nearly 3 decades ago as a MRF sorter. This was Leo's first conference. He spent the week networking and learning best practices from his peers across the country. I think it was really relevant, and understanding that Leo still has so much more to contribute to the organization after 30 years. And just how important these are for the networking aspects. Also, the curiosity piece of all the materials we were selling. We were able to go into the expo, over 600 exhibitors there. and just get an opportunity to check our market on our values of our material. And I had the best expert available to explain how we were getting to the material, how clean it was, what other facets of functionality we could do. So it was a great pairing, and I think it was a lifelong experience for Leo. I think he's still been talking about it. So really exciting opportunity for all of us here at ReGen to talk about our culture and also how advanced we are with just the technology and forward thought about continuing to operate them for many years to come. CSU MB Monterey Bay panel on March 4th, Senior Communications Coordinator Eric Palmer spoke to the UMB students along with Maria Fernandine from Monterey County and also Salina Valley's Recycles General Manager and Assistant General Manager Cesar Zuniga and Mandy Brooks got to talk about careers in the waste management industry and public service, along with overviews of our complex public operations that we have here and also down at Johnson Canyon and in Salinas. Farm Day, Senior Communications Coordinator Eric Palmer and Communications Specialist Franco Guzman attended the Monterey Farm Day at Monterey Fairgrounds, which brought over 2,000 third graders from across the county that shared how food scraps from their homes and schools are turned into compost for local farming. It was also a chance to connect with teachers and let them know about ReGen's education and Senate Bill 1383 compliance services led by Franco. Franco, he continues to deliver a service that really nobody here delivers, and that's outward education, intentfully hitting the schools, these events that are occurring, and really looking at the youth as a process to get them to understand and interpret and inherit the values that we have today that will be beneficial for not only what we do here at ReGen, but for the global environment that we want to take care of. So very exciting, and thank you, Franco, for all your contributions and the love of just, going out there and educating all the youth and the youngsters and the kids and always having that motivated spirit out there. He's always serious here, but when he's out there, it just seems like he's a different person. So we're very excited about that. Thank you, Franco. I also had a tour with Assemblywoman Dawn Addis and Supervisor Ruth Askew to go through our operations and really talk about some needs that we may need help with. And some of those were, we talked about the CARB and the compliance items. Also, we talked a little bit about the biomat program that landfills do not qualify for when we go and sell our power. So just, getting her ear a little bit on items that we would like to, for them to broach on if they ever present themselves the opportunity. So it was time well spent. The communications team also welcomed 2 tours at the beginning of March, including the City of Seaside staff. Alexis is not here. And the reason why is the City of Seaside staff put some challenges out there to their team to learn and inherit some of the values on how to properly get rid of the materials there. And the winning team got the availability to come do a tour here and learn a little bit more about the emphasis on some of the processes and programs that we operate out in the community. So it was an opportunity for them to see our operations. We also had Monterey Bay Aquarium staff who manage waste for their operations also do the tours with our team so that they can bring knowledge back to their organizations, inform stakeholders, and improve waste diversions across our communities. Finally, I have our new mural partnership with Salinas Valley Recycles. Myself, Zoe, Eric, Kristen, a few of us got to attend the mural unveiling in Greenfield. It was called El Alma de la Tierra, a new community mural by artist Hanif Panini at Patriot Park. ReGen Monterey and Salinas Valley Recycles communication staff partnered on a year-long countywide Sort with Heart campaign to encourage participation in curbside food scrap composting. As part of the campaign, 2 composting murals were installed in 2 different locations in Monterey County, one on the coast and one in the Salinas Valley. ReGen unveiled the mural Black Golden Seaside in December, and Salinas Valley Recycle and the city of Greenfield celebrated the unveiling of El Alma de la Tierra with elected officials and community members from across Salinas Valley. So it was a great event. The murals came out fantastic. They're beautiful. And Honey Panini is gonna be receiving an award for the Arts Champion. And so we're very excited that we have a few of our board members that may be attending. And we're excited for Hanif and his contributions to the community to be long lasting, that the murals stay up and that they deliberately sending the message of how we can turn some of the waste products into resources for the future. So I'm very excited with our partnership with Salinas Valley Recycles and the community themselves to allow us to go out there and do items like this that could encourage the community direction on the efforts that we want them to have. So I'm excited, and thank you guys for the opportunity to give general manager updates.
Thank you, Felipe. All right, we'll move on to board communications. Board members, Director Delgado.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to thank Jameson and his team that take care of the grounds around here and operations, and specifically, they're really on it on a daily basis, looking for the illegal dumping going on Lapis Road and Del Monte Boulevard, and reporting it as soon as they see it, because there are cameras up. But Maria Ferdin, who Felipe referred to a little bit earlier, she can't see 24 hours of footage every day. She just can't, of course. But when Jameson gives her the start time and the end time in between which there was a dumping, she can look at that gap a lot easier than she can look at, days of footage. It's not going perfect, but it's going, and I hope we can improve it. And Wendy has, she's cutting to the quick with an idea that would really improve it. We'll see where that goes. I just want to say thank you again to Jameson and his crew, and Felipe supporting all of this. Thank you, Felipe, and this board indirectly, to try to get our neighborhood not to look like you might expect the area near a dump would be, with all the refuse coming here and falling off or being thrown out, or however it gets on the ground. And the odor community, the odors that are going into our community, I'm hoping that Wendy and I and Kim and others and Felipe can organize a community meeting to talk about what we're doing to minimize odors coming out of the sewage treatment plant, our operations and the farms and everywhere that might be contributing odors. Because as those new communities move into these houses that are being built so close to us, it's more important that we communication out. And members of the community in Marina continue to push for such a meeting. So I hope that we can continue to plan for a date and get that meeting to happen. The really good news of Hanif Pani, the muralist, getting an award through the Monterey County Arts Foundation for a champion of the arts. There'll be an award breakfast for a few awardees, and he's one of them. But I'm learning that the muralist is also a DJ, a band member, a graphic designer, a projection artist, a social justice, advocate, kind of like the real deal. And it's, I don't want to sole source anything, but if you need a beautiful mural in your community here in Monterey County, he really puts out some incredible murals. There's 5 in Marina he's done. There's 10 in Seaside he's done. I think Seaside wins. And then he's doing them throughout the county. And every one of them has a purpose beyond, just art, but there's a message there. And it's wonderful that Eric and Zoe and Felipe contributed a letter of recommendation supporting his work. So good job.
Great. And brief comment. Yeah. I just want to say there's a organization called Civic Well that hosts a conference. They do a lot of work around climate change and clean air and clean water policy. But hosts a conference every year for local policymakers to discuss impacts of climate change and land use policies and transit policies and sort of the intersection of where all of these things come together, and think about strategies for sustainability into the future, using the expertise of local government, local city and county elected leaders. It's probably the most impactful and valuable group that I'm a part of and participate in, the conference I attend every year. I just wanted to thank ReGen for helping to sponsor that conference this last year. A lot of excitement to have a waste management agency, a landfill, waste management and broadly agency participate. And so folks are really excited and looking at how to include ReGen specifically in some panels around the broader issues of how we work to reduce waste into landfills, how we work to manage waste that comes into landfills, all the things that we're doing here at ReGen that I got to brag about all weekend. I just want to say thank you, and I'm really excited about what that future conversation is going to look like.
It's great. It's good to hear. Any other board communications? No. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting is April 17th. So we'll see you then.